From the WTWO Digital First Studio, this is the Goin to the Endzone podcast. Sponsored by Terre Haute Chevrolet, Indiana State University, Kirshner Building Centers, and Eddie's Sandwich Shop.
Good evening and welcome to our very first Goin to the Endzone podcast. I am Grant Pugh along with Nicole Krasean. Tim Sanders, our director. We're coming to you live from the Digital First Studios here at WTWO. Welcome to our high school football, college football, all things football podcast show. Nicole, we're excited to talk some football tonight.
Oh, yeah. Week 5, high school football, college football well underway now. It's going to be a good show and a good week of football, I think.
Hard to believe after this Friday night, a lot of the season will be halfway over for a lot of these schools. Week 5, feeling alive. We're going to touch on, right away, one of the best games of the night in the entire state. 4-0 Northview, traveling to 4-0 Owen Valley. What a matchup that's going to be. Oh,
both teams undefeated, as you said, so really good matchup there. And I do think that there's going to be quite a bit that Coach Rates and his Knights are going to be seeing on the road that maybe they haven't really seen yet as much this season. Owen Valley, tough team to play. They've got that running back, McDonald, 117 yards a game, I think he has. And their quarterback's pretty impressive, too. So I think they're going to have their work cut out for them. I think maybe going to see Northview struggle a little bit on the road, but the Knights, very impressive as well.
Northview has a big 3-game stretch starting this Friday at Owen Valley, then Terre Haute South, then Guerin Catholic. And it was Owen Valley that won at Northview last year, Nicole. That really propelled Owen Valley to a big season after that.
Yeah, and I think Northview getting ready to go on that run of teams, like you said, those good competitions, it's going to be just good for them. They've got Kati getting comfortable, still learning his role there as the quarterback and a leader on the team. But you can never count Coach Rates out, that's for sure. He knows what he's doing, and so I think it'll be a really great matchup. Really excited to see how things go down in Spencer.
Can't wait for that one. Game number 2, we're going to talk about another team that's undefeated. Oh, by the way, ranked number 1. That would be the Linton Miners traveling down to Boonville.
Yeah, and they just got that win. Always feels good, I think, for Linton to get that win over Sullivan. That always boosts them up a little bit. Always a great game over there. And Boonville, they beat North Knox in overtime, I think, last week, but then they were shut out the week before. So they're kind of feeling themselves out a little bit. I think Linton is really going to be able to go in there and stay strong. They're going off of that number 1 ranking, holding on to that. I think they're going to have a lot of confidence, and I think you're going to see it. Plus, Hunter Jennings is just a beast.
I was going to say, playing as good a quarterback as anyone in the state right now, and it's not just his arm, it's his legs. He's ripping off 80, 90-yard touchdown runs like it's nothing.
Yeah, so Boonville's going to have to be practicing to go up against that this week, and I think that Linton's going to be able to come out of this still undefeated and probably still ranked number 1 next week.
So a road test for Northview, a road test for Linton, another big road test for the Terre Haute South Braves. They won the biggest game of our show last week, the Victory Bell over Terre Haute North. They threw up a 56 spot against Terre Haute North. Next up, oh, by the way, you're going to Bloomington South, a huge test for Coach Herron and the Braves Friday night.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. It's hard to win in Bloomington. Terre Haute going over there, I feel like it's always a good test for them. I think Brady Wilson getting a good test now is his first year going up against the big dogs in Bloomington. But South 2-0 in conference play, so we'll see if they'll be able to keep it going. But yeah, it's always a tough road down to Bloomington.
If you're going to win on the road, you got to play good defense. You got to run the ball. 2 things, Coach Herron. Coach Herron likes to take deep shots down the field too, but you got to be able to run the ball. Josh Kati setting a school record 6 touchdowns last week against his rival. North-South also has Alex Rose, who, oh, by the way, is leading the state in tackles as well, linebacker.
Yeah, and I think that, when you look at Bloomington South, they're always a good opponent, as we said, and they just beat North a few weeks ago 55-7, so they've already showed the North side what they're made of. So South now going to have to go and really show what they're made of. But like you said, Josh, and I think a lot of them are going to be ready for this, and I think they're going to come to play. And again, another really good matchup. Going to see how that plays out.
Another team we got to touch on that's had a quick turnaround, Vincent's Lincoln. They're up to number 11 in the 3A poll. They're in that tough SEAC conference again. Lincoln got a big win. Of course, they got maybe the biggest win of the season a couple of weeks ago against Mater Dei. Now they're back on the road again this Friday.
Yeah, and the Alice's, they always have, a good turnout for people, whether they're on the road, at home, certainly, but they have a really good fan base. I think that helps them out as a smaller school, really feel more confident. And going to Castle this week, I think that, that ranking, again, will boost up that confidence, hopefully give them an upper hand on the road.
Road Warriors, kind of our theme of the week in Indiana, as we touched on 4 games. Let's talk about the Robinson Maroons. They are at home this week. They get to host KZ Westfield. Robinson winning our play of the night this week. West Jackson pick 6. How about the Maroons hosting KZ on Friday?
Yeah, getting that win over Marshall. Marshall hasn't been able to win a game this year, so I think Robinson going in there, that might not have been the toughest competition they've seen, but going to KZ, that's a good rivalry. It'll be a lot of people there in the stands, and I think that Robinson is going to have their work cut out for them a little bit more with KZ. I think they still have the edge over KZ this this weekend, I'm going to say, but definitely going to be something to watch over in Illinois.
Hey, this is just some of the games you're going to see Friday night going to the end zone at 11 over on WTWO. Hey, that is it for our first block, but coming up, we have a special guest who's going to join us. We're talking college football, the first ever football game, St. Mary of the Woods history. Head coach Blaine Powell is coming up right after we show you Friday night's football matchups. Welcome back to our very first Going to the End Zone digital podcast in our digital podcast centers. You see, we now have a special guest, head coach, St. Mary of the Woods Sprint Football, Coach Blaine Powell. Coach Powell, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What's it like to start up a program knowing you're just a couple of days away to play your first ever college football game at the Woods?
It's from where we started, it's really hard to believe that it got here this fast, and it's been very busy. There's been some difficult moments and and some great moments, but we're all looking forward to it.
And I think, transitioning from high school to this new realm of football, what has that been like? What are some of the lessons you've learned so far and some of the big takeaways?
Well, I mean, first thing, just getting used to the recruiting and the lay of the land of the college and everything. And, but really it just comes down to coaching kids. And, we've stayed true to everything that we've always done. And, it's about relationships, whether it's in recruiting or, anything else. Is you have to create those relationships, and it's been great. Really, I got a great coaching staff, and without them, this never would have happened. Because we had about really 2 or 3 months really to put a team together. When I got there, we had 6 kids committed, and so really, I haven't had a chance to really think about what the difference is, because you just keep growing as you go, but here we are, and we got a bunch of great kids, and they can't wait to get on the field.
Yeah, and you've got some Golden Arrows that joined you, some past players.
Of course.
So, I know you said the other day that most of them, if not all of them, are going to get a start. So you've got quite a good relationship, speaking of relationships, with them. How does that help you guys to know some of these guys already and have that?
It helps a lot, just because they know how we coach. They know what's expected, and they kind of know how we go about things, and they know the expectations we have for everybody on the team, and they kind of can share that, and they're all good leaders, and I couldn't ask for any more than what we've got out of those guys. I mean, 2 of them hadn't played for 2 years, 1 of them hadn't played for a year, so to be able to come back and do what they're doing has been great.
First game on the road, heading to Calumet College of St. Joseph this weekend, which we were talking about a 3-hour drive or so.
Yeah.
What's it like you're going to start on the road this year, Coach?
I mean, anywhere. We're ready to play anybody right now, and anywhere, because it's just like you always get it, at the end of fall camp. You're sick of hitting each other. You're ready to get out there and play somebody else, see somebody else, and so, we're just excited to get the chance to do it, and I know the kids are fired up, the coaches are ready to roll, and can't wait to get there.
And you don't necessarily have much history to look back on. Of course, you've got some of those past Golden Arrows that you know how they play and how they operate, but what are some position groups and some guys that you really think people are going to need to look out for?
I think we got a really, really strong wide receiver group. Andres Miller, who played at Park Heritage. Then we got Kyle, who played at Sullivan. We got a really good wide receiver out of Maryland, Devron Johnson. We got Wump Jones from Georgia. really we got Corey Miller from South Vermilion. He's playing receiver and playing a little bit of tight end. Carlos Munoz from New Mexico is a really good tight end. And really another really good position group for us is our defensive backs. I mean, we've got them from everywhere. We got Xavier Grant from Georgia. We got Jaheim Joseph from Lebanon. Monte May from Indianapolis, played at Lawrence Central. Then Elias DeJesus is from Texas. He's a really good free safety. It's just it's been really neat to see them progress and learn. I mean, these kids in really 3.5 weeks learned a whole new language on both sides of the ball, something they've never heard of, and they picked up on things really well. We got 2 really good quarterbacks, one from Texas, one from Louisiana. Brennan Landry's from Louisiana, won a state championship there. Brian Merrill's from Texas and Amarillo, and had a great career there. So, we feel like we're solid at every position, but then again, we haven't seen anybody else. We haven't seen any film. We don't know what anybody else is doing. So, we're all in the same boat, but we do have a great group.
That unknown makes it exciting, but a lot of people are excited for you guys to get football cranked up at the Woods. You touched on your roster there. These are guys all over the country,
yes,
but also guys that are hungry to play college football that may not get the opportunity to play somewhere else. They're happy to be at the Woods, Coach.
Oh, yeah. It is a great opportunity for these kids. And some of them, didn't have any offers, and some of them did, but they chose us, and they are definitely pumped up to be there now. And it's been a difficult transition at times just because, the first day of school is first day of practice, and they're getting acclimated to the place and then having to go to practice and, being away, some of them are thousands of miles away from home, and here they are thrown into it that quick. So they have really managed it well, and they just keep getting better as we go.
Road opener this weekend. We want to touch on before you leave the home opener next weekend, September 24th at West Vigo High School. How cool is it to play at West Vigo for now? And we don't want to look ahead. You guys have a big game this weekend, but to be back in the Wabash Valley next weekend, a lot of people excited for that home opener.
Oh yeah, we can't wait. It's neat to be able to do that, and we're very thankful to the people at West Vigo and Vigo County School Corporation for giving us this opportunity. And, I think it's just going to be a really, really great atmosphere. St. Mary of the Woods has done a great job of preparing for it and kind of dressing it up kind of in our style for that game. And a lot of work's been put into it. And, we're excited about it. And just to get to play that first home game is going to be pretty cool.
Coach Powell, thanks for joining us. Good luck this weekend. We can't wait for Pomeroy football to get started.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks to Coach Powell. We are back with more of our Endzone podcast right after a look at Friday's football matchups. Welcome back to our third and final block of our first ever Going to the Endzone podcast from the Digital First Studios. Big thanks to Coach Powell for taking some time on a busy week. St. Mary's opening up the football season Saturday night, 8 o'clock start at Calumet College of St. Joseph with Nicole Krasean. I'm Grant Pugh. Nicole, we're going to touch on more college football. Speaking of the Woods, big one for the Sycamores Saturday. The schedule just seems to get tougher and tougher. After Purdue, now you're hosting one of the top teams in the country in Montana.
Yeah, the mindset after that loss at Purdue wasn't really, hey, we're going to hang our heads at all. They had to get right back to work, and that's what they've done. And I think that you're going to see a team that understands, especially after that loss at Purdue, that, okay, we're playing some big dogs this year, and we're not going to stop playing them. We've still got North Dakota State, still got South Dakota State, of course, Montana this weekend, but it's a home game, and I think that's going to be huge for the Sycamores. We talked about this earlier. Dante's going to be back. He obviously missed the season opener, but he's going to be back, and he's going to be back at home, and that's going to be big. He had a pretty, we called it a bright spot at Purdue, 90 yards receiving, and I think you're going to see him continue to step up, continue to be that captain, that leader, and really show out at home at Memorial Stadium.
Speaking of being at home, IU, not the start they wanted last week. They started slow. They still got the dub, but a big one for IU this week as well in non-conference play.
Yeah, Coach Allen, talking in an interview after the game, said, we can't only play one half of football. Yeah, that's a good quote, Coach. I agree with that. And I think that that's what they're going to really need to continue to step up with as they head deeper into the season and into Big Ten play and some of these big matchups they're going to have later on. So I look to the Hoosiers to really have to come out of the gate strong against Western Kentucky. I think they are favored right now, but I think that it's going to be close, and they really can't underestimate any opponent, especially when you're going to come out kind of sluggish like they have some of the other games. But starting 2-0 always feels good for IU, always feels like a good start to the season if in the football world. So we'll see if we can get 3-0 this week.
Purdue on the road at Syracuse. That should be a fun one for the Boilers going up against an ACC opponent.
Yeah, and I think Purdue, last weekend saw a little bit of Aiden O'Connell, a little bit of the starters, not much, of course, but they are really impressive. And I think, they were mad about the Penn State loss. I think a lot of people were mad about the Penn State loss, and then they came and, were able to play against ISU, some people calling it almost a scrimmage. And then now they've got to get back into the groove of these bigger teams and these bigger schools, FBS schools, and I think that you're going to see Aiden O'Connell really, again, as we talked about Dante earlier, step up and really be that leader. But I think it would be foolish of them to think that, okay, we just, blew out Indiana State. We can just take that momentum and run with it because it's going to be a little bit different ball game this weekend.
One of the upsets of the weekend last weekend, you saw Marshall upsetting Notre Dame in South Bend. Notre Dame back at home this weekend, hosting a Cal team. I think Notre Dame's a 10, 11-point favorite. Coach Freeman looking for that first win as head coach of the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, and man, I hope he can get it because he's so likable. Everybody wants Marcus Freeman to succeed, and I know the players do. They want to play hard for him. But man, 0-3, again, we talked earlier, you may not count that bowl game. Brian Kelly just left. But 0-2 to start off this season, losing at home already. They really need to bring it, and they really cannot lose this game, or people are going to start calling for his head, as they will with Notre Dame.
Got to touch on some college football back in Terre Haute this weekend as well. Rose-Hulman 0-2. They had a 23-3 lead last week against Trine. Trine comes back to win 24-23. Rose does have the Defensive Player of the Week this week. Coach Sokol back at home this weekend, hosting Albion College, looking for that first win of the season as well.
Yeah, and we said earlier some heartbreaking losses for them. I think both of these games, especially after being up and then losing that game last week. But I do think that coming back home, being in your own space will be nice, and I really hope Coach Sokol can get that win because such a great guy, such a great program.
A lot of weekend of football. We can't wait to get it started. Starts Friday, going to the end zone at 11 on WTWO, then rolls into Saturday with college football. Should be some great weather. Hey, thanks for joining us on our first ever Going to the End Zone podcast. Nicole, thanks for coming on to talk some football.
Of course, it was a blast.
For Nicole, for Coach Powell, so I'm taking some time out, and everyone, thanks for watching Going to the End Zone Digital Podcast. First ever, we'll see you at some football games this weekend, I'm sure.